Welcome to Banking on Community, a podcast that explores how community banks thrive with the leaders who run them. I'm your host, Deb Barnes, a banking strategist and AI advisor with 18 years in banking and financial services. I help banks transform through data, analytics, and automation. Today on Banking on Community, I'm joined by Nathan Vahling, CFO of Alden State Bank. We talk about growing with purpose, staying human in the age of AI, and what it really means to be a local partner. Welcome to the show, Nathan. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company?
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate you having me on today. Nathan Vahling, as you mentioned, CFO here at Alden State Bank. Been here just about 2 years. Prior to that, I got my start in banking early thousands on the investment banking side. So very heavy in the investments. Went up through a couple of boutique firms, ended up ending my banking career at Citigroup, working the desk down there, and then realized that I wanted to test the waters. So right around COVID, which was perfect timing, went to the food manufacturing industry and was a controller for a bakery out here in Western New York. Then went on to, again, food manufacturing controller for a local branch of the Goya Foods. Um, wasn't until I got the tap on the shoulder by our CEO at Alden State saying, "Hey, we have a retiring CFO. Would you like to join and give me a chance?" I'm glad he did. Been here, doing a lot of exciting things here. So that's a little bit about me. As far as a personal level, born and raised Denver, Colorado. Met my wife out there. She's originally from Buffalo, and she managed to get me out here. Love it. We'll never go back. And yeah, that's about it. Absolutely. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about Alden Bank. What is the product offering? Who do you serve?
Sure, absolutely. So we've been around since 1916. We're a community bank focused primarily on a commercial lending, and we have about 15,000 customers. Large, sort of quiet community. Think of that. Very typical community bank. Average around 24 million in revenue, and we've got 3 locations. Our headquarters here. We just took over the building next to us, which was the original site, but that turned over to a newspaper. And then we recently bought it and turned it into our third branch, making the building that I'm in right now our headquarters. So we've got 2 other locations plus next door, and we're really mentioning growth. That's what we're trying to do.
That's fantastic. Great to hear you're in the midst of a growth strategy.
Yes.
So if you would like, so you mentioned commercial lending. Is it all business side banking, or do you also offer products, kind of your typical checking and savings and that kind of thing, cards?
100%. Yeah, we do the typical banking, the card servicing, deposit accounts, CDs, the typical menu, but our focus is on the lending side, most certainly commercial.
And tell me a little bit about like what that portfolio looks like. Is there a specific industry, or is it broad based on the community that you're in?
It's broad based on the community we're in because, again, we're sort of we're not, I wouldn't call it ag, but it's more new construction, 1 to 4 family, large units, and other commercial use, mixed use. So that's really our portfolio. We don't, again, we have no ag lending. Granted, we're surrounded. If you were to look at a map, we're about 40 minutes east of Buffalo, and that is lots of farm country, lots of beautiful rolling hills, but there's not it's not city at all. So
Right.
if you can imagine,
It has more of a rural vibe than an urban one for sure.
yeah,
And maybe not suburban is what I'm hearing you say. It's not truly a suburb either. Yeah.
not it's a mix. It's like there's some suburban area, but it's also rural, so it's a fine balance.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So let's shift and talk a little bit about industry trends. What are some top industry trends that you're paying attention to right now that are top of mind?
I mean, obviously, the first two that hit my mind are AI and cryptocurrencies. I mean, it's two topics here that are, again, given our growth strategies and where we're at, it's not touchy subjects, but it's ones that we're very hesitant and very thoughtful of, that we want to do the right thing. I doubt that we'll ever delve into cryptocurrencies, either on the deposit or even on the investment side of the balance sheet. But certainly for AI, that is something that we are looking at, saying it's coming no matter what. So we either have to, if we're not going to incorporate it to build on efficiencies within, we have to be able to at least understand it, to know how it's going to impact us on the sort of preventative side. We owe it to our customers to know that knowledge and understand it, to help protect them for any attacks using it. So it's
Yeah, on that front, you're thinking like fraud, or you're thinking cyber.
100%.
Yeah.
There was kind of going down a path here. I was at a conference, and a gentleman was speaking to how AI can manipulate not just face, but voice, and then the combination of the two. And it's like suddenly your CEO is calling you saying, make this wire. And you're like, okay, fine. So it's those precautions. And I mean, it always starts with the person, but then it's knowing what the person can do, and then layering on that other technology to help stop it. So that's my concern. I know, again, as we grow, looking to gain efficiencies, there's things that AI most certainly can help us with, but it's that delicate balance.
So you're talking about a strategy now, or have you all kind of figured out what that strategy could be, or that's work in progress?
That is a work in process. Our broaching the idea of, like, we're looking at what would happen if we turned on Copilot for 100% within our organization. What risk does that open us up to? And really just trying to understand it. So most certainly just getting off. Nowhere near as we said, yeah, we're going to include this as part of our strategic plan. So
And
it's
some of
early.
those capabilities, like you said, the Copilot one as an example, they're already integrated into all of, probably most of your capabilities or many capabilities. And so
Yeah.
it's like, how's it going to really be used is the big question mark. And how do we control how that's going to be used?
Well, and also it's comfort level for all the parties involved, right? We've got some of the more seasoned technology users out there saying, "Turn it on. I can use this. I can put it in my day to day. I can use it in speaking with customers and clients." But then you have our IT staff and directors saying, "Pump the brakes, because I want to understand it completely here. I have my own reservations. I have to protect the information of the bank." So you've got that dynamic, and then everything else just butting heads. So we're, again, going back. Let's understand it, and then let's start having those conversations.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's like that, cautiously optimistic approach. Like we're going forward. We have some boundaries that we're trying to figure out what they are, and
Yeah.
because it will be revolutionary for all businesses,
Yeah.
um,
Yes.
top to bottom, in terms of making people's lives easier. Inside the people who work for you today, making their lives easier or better or less monotonous with some of the kind of manual and routine tasks they may have to do. So
That's right.
yeah.
And to your point, like, cautiously optimistic, that's kind of how I treat that, as well as everything else. I feel good about it. At the same time, it's a slow roll.
So wearing your CFO hat, do you see that as a big cost saving opportunity with AI, or are you seeing it in a different lens?
I think it depends on how we use it. I mean, if we look at it as an efficiency gain, then you have the potential for cost savings. If you're looking at it from, I don't know, I would say ultimately, yes, there could be potential for the cost savings versus anything else. Not necessarily looking to replace anything. It's just, how can we be better? How can we do what we're doing now and still remain uh, loyal and honest and good to our customers, but just do it better. So
Yeah.
that's it.
Something else, so kind of talking about your customers a little bit, any changes in customer expectations that you're experiencing? Anything on that front from an industry trends perspective?
From an industry and trends perspective, I would not that I'm seeing out here. I mean, we're all concerned about where the economy's headed, and I hear myself saying recently that there's only one thing we're certain about is that there's uncertainty, and there's no historic. There used to be, but there's no more historic data to go back and say, well, at this point in time, we're experiencing this here. So we're really in uncharted waters, and it's a lot of just saying, keeping the calm head, keeping things simple, and just saying, plan ahead, act accordingly, and we can get through anything. So it's if there is a trend, I would say for me, what I see, that's it. Is the common theme is we just don't know, and trying to act and plan accordingly. So something that I've noticed when I was just due diligence, looking at the demographics of our customers, we have a lot of that generational wealth that is potentially transferring down. And it's a matter of making sure that you build that brand recognition with that next generation to let them know, like, we're a solid institution. We've been with your family. They trust us. You should too. So I think that, I mean, the silver tsunami doesn't surprise me. But for us, it's more of how do we ensure that that generational wealth transfer happens in our favor and doesn't just because we know younger generations, they don't need an institution to walk into to bank, even though we're more safe and secure than some of those other institutions that don't have a brick and mortar. So yeah, well aware of that sort of the
Trend.
silver tsunami,
Yeah,
but
I thought that was a
never
funny terminology, so I'm trying to see if anyone else is using it.
had never heard of it, but 100% it's out there, and I think we're all mindful of it. It's just, again, it's are you prepared for it? Are you set up for it? Knowing full well that you're probably not going to keep 100% of it, and what do you do then? So it's a lot of working with marketing. It's a lot of work with your branches to say, are we positioned to have conversations with these customers and really try and retain them?
I'd like to talk just a little bit about, what's going well, what's going great for Alden Bank, what's hard right now. If we think more kind of current state, what are your thoughts on that front?
What's going great for us right now? Like I said, we bought the building next to us, made that a third physical location. We've got our headquarters here. We did some remodeling. We are set to prepare ourselves for growth. Are working on another marketing initiative. Evans Bank, one of our competitors out here, got purchased by NBT, which is a bank on the eastern part of the state. And we're trying to get to those customers to say, NBT's on the east side, we're on the west side. We might, we know what you need, we can offer it. So we've got that opportunity. We think we're going to be pretty successful. So we've got that going for us. And like I said, we're just trying to prepare ourselves for growth.
What do you think is the kind of the some unique aspects of your customers that really position you to support and serve them?
I think there's that, how can I say this? When I was working at M&T, another regional bank, but based out of Buffalo, New York, I did a lot of traveling to New York City. And when they say, hey, you're from Buffalo, you're upstate, it's like you have no idea, like, geographically where we are. So I think it's just us saying, we know who you are because we're your neighbors, we're your shops. We're going to see you in stores. We're going to say hi at the grocery store, the gas station, whatever it is, because we're here. We're not 1,000 miles in the other direction. So that's the benefit that we have. And certainly not bashing our competitors. We're all in this together. But at the same point, it's, if you don't understand your customer base, then how do you expect them to remain loyal to you? And I think that's sort of like, again, I think that's the advantage that we have.
Great. So which metrics are you most focused on improving like this year? What are the top of where are you moving the needle?
Um, Trying to keep our NIM solid where it's been historically, and managing those three things, right? It's profitability, risk, and growth. So if we can do all those three things successfully, I think we'll be in a good position. The whatever I mean, there's a lot of metrics that make that up. So
Yeah.
it's it's again, if I were to say what metrics am I monitoring, it's those three.
So there's a program in place to, kind of help those folks potentially shift over. Are there other key programs that you're counting on to move the needle this year?
Not necessarily. We've got a very a group of core depositors, right? I mean, we've been community bank. They're loyal. They've been around a while, and our focus is on just again maintaining our commitment to them, and in addition to that, gaining new ones. As far as other strategies to get more, you could always pay up for deposits, but it's how long will they stick around, right? Who's a rate shopper and who's committed? So it's been our stance that we don't like something we don't like. We would prefer non-rate shoppers because we're making a commitment to you. We expect the same. So
That makes a lot of sense, and I think that that solid base is so important, and making sure that you're continuing to serve that population well, and then, as you mentioned earlier, thinking through that wealth transfer to come. Those are the kind of key ingredients to success, it sounds like, for Alden Bank.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's exactly that, and whatever other things come about of it, I'm sure there will be. But right now, it's again focusing on getting ourselves in a solid foundation to be able to move forward.
Well, are you using any automation capabilities currently that you maybe recently have installed, and how are those going?
We don't use any like AI automation. We have third party vendors that we use that leverage AI on their end, but nothing in house. And again, I think that's going back to our original conversation. I think that's something that we're looking to do, but nothing near term. This is all, again, we're in the exploratory understanding phase, not ready to rush. Oh, and it goes back to it's like our peers will be saying, hey, we got this fancy new toy. Well, that's great, but if you don't understand the fancy new toy, how do you know it's not going to kill you? So that's kind of how we're looking at it is I'm glad that you have that fancy new toy. Maybe it would be good for us, but we want to understand it first and its implications in all aspects of it so that we know it like the back of our hands. So when we implement it, there's no surprises. And again, having that risk to our customers is the last thing we want to do. So
Makes
yeah,
sense.
I'm a big fan of shiny new toys, but
Only ones that really make sense and that we understand well.
that's right.
What's your kind of biggest frustration right now in business? Like, what's the thorn in your side, that maybe keeping you up at night?
I mentioned it before and I'll say it again. It's that I'm certain of uncertainty. I've spent a lot of years in this industry and I'm constantly reminded that we just don't know what's going to happen next. And I think that is was the most frustrating part. I'm not the CEO and myself will joke that, break out the crystal ball, but there is some truth to that, right? Because you really are doing that because we're in unprecedented times. So, what do we know? Okay, go back to the basics. Let's look at this certain human behavior drives economic conditions. What does that look like? Does it feel right? Does it make sense? And that's the thing. That's what keeps me up at night.
It's like, what's the next surprise, right? And I guess the other side of that is, and how do we respond to it well and quickly?
And to what degree? Like you could have 100 different plans for 100 different scenarios and that one thing that you didn't think to plan for happens, so you could drive yourself crazy or you could just say we've done our best. So again, it's all those things and then you layer on the degrees and it adds up.
Okay, so looking into the future, okay, we're going to use our crystal ball for a minute. And maybe it's not such a crystal ball, but what are the plans for Alden? You talked about growth in the next 12 to 18 months. What is that next big target or that next big goal that you're after?
I think if you were to ask my president, he would probably say assets at 500 million to really break through that barrier, but obviously with a caveat of doing it smartly, safely, and as beneficial as possible. Which again, what makes sense to our shareholders to keep that in mind.
Yeah, and where are you now in terms of?
440.
Okay, well that's a generous amount of growth for a year or so. That's
Right,
great.
and I think a year is probably too aggressive. probably more like 3 to 5, but I think that's sort
It's the
of
next big target.
yeah, that's the thing that's always in the back of your mind thinking we can get there. So, keeping that as our motivator.
And is there a key product strategy to get there, or like what are the key steps that you all are taking to achieve that?
Kind of what I alluded to before was remaining customer focused, not forgetting who we are, doing what we do best, and that's serving the community, serving the customers, and really building that trust. The marketing campaign that I mentioned about before about Evans is really trying to focus on that. Is to say, look, we're your neighbor. We know who you are. Come join us, and we'll be right.
Yeah, and then tell me a little bit. So you're focused on that continued customer experience. What do your customers say you do best, right? Both on the commercial side as well as the individual side. What is that? What is that kind of secret sauce, from their perspective?
It's being able to walk in and say, not even that, it's being able to pick up a phone. We have our phone operator. We refuse to go automated. So if you call us after a ring, you get a person. It's not a prompt. It's not redirecting. It's you get a person. And historically it's been that same person. So I think if you embody that with everything else that we do, that's the secret sauce, right? It's just doing right by the customer and letting them know that we are there for them anytime.
And that real human connection is what you're emphasizing too, right? That personal
100%.
and human connection.
Yep.
That when I call, I actually talk to a person, not the
Call, walk in.
auto router,
Right.
to get me to the person.
That's
That's
right.
great. Okay, so if you could solve one major challenge today, you could just pluck something and like boom, you have the solution. What would you do? What would it be?
My easiest answer, create certainty. That's, that's, that would, I'm not kidding. That would be the one thing is being able to put away the crystal ball and say, I actually have things that I can base decisions on historically. Yeah, that would solve so many problems. Have again with the uncertainty in the market and where markets and the economy where they're going, what the Fed is trying to do, different politics involved. It's very hard to navigate, and I think we've been successful at just saying, take a step back, breathe, refocus, do what you know, and that's put us in a great position. Now it's just a matter of how do we do that going forward. And again, if I had that magic wand, that would be it.
Thanks for listening to Banking on Community. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who cares about local banking. And remember, let's keep it local and keep showing up for each other.